Okay, so just before we get into it, I just want to see how many pages this one, two, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, okay, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 pages, so 10 more pages left. So, this in particular story does have a lot of vocabulary in it that, words you probably never heard of, and that's also something to kind of keep in mind as you're reading. So, I just want you, first of all, to, there's a little, um, just some packets, just a page, so 2 pages, with, you have 1 page, and then you turn the packet over, and then there's another page to put your name on it, obviously. So with this, you're looking for words that you never heard of. You're looking for, as I said, any figurative language of any kind. It gives everything on those things as well. Okay. I made a little thing attached to the story, but anyway, and the questions are basically answering what basically the plot is about, and what are the more, final details of it. So, we're obviously talking about this, um, and, audio is, another form of reading. But so we're talking about this house, obviously, that's, in the middle of nowhere, like, all houses are. And the house is very, dark, run down, black, and it's a very, very old and very mysterious, haunted house. I think that, if you're in the middle of nowhere and you see, like a big, mansion that kind of looks dark, then you really need to question the circumstances. So, that house kind of stands out. So the time of year is obviously fall. So I would say that it would be, November season, fall season. So obviously we're talking about, this person, this Mr. Usher, and he is coming to the house on behalf of his, prospector, who, obviously, they knew each other in school. So, based off of, what are some things, first of all, to describe, what the interior of the house looks like, and kind of the tone and the atmosphere and everything. There was also some elements of, gothic horror on there as well for you to look at to kind of help you along. So, what is one thing? One, either small or big or important detail that you found. I mean, that's inside the house. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So, there was, there's fungi growing all over the ceiling and all over, the walls, you know. And then, he goes into that, room, and, it's kind of as if there was, like a tornado that, kind of swept through, where, everything was scattered. Think of, what kind of, that represents that everything is, scattered, all over the ground. You have, all the books scattered. You have all the, instruments. It's kind of it's kind of puts on that, that eerie, kind of dead, feel and vibe. Um, and also with, with the man, um, which is the main character's friend. He had it. What's one thing to describe? What's one way to describe him in particular? Yes. Okay, so having having a Jewish appearance, and and the it's like I really like Edgar Allan Poe and how he describes things in certain people. So anyway. So apparently there was this letter that he is, that he is ushered to. When you're at church, those people who say, may the ushers come forward. So this is a really good representative of Scorpio. So that's basically what is going on here. So is there any... Okay. So I'm trying to think. So we have 10 pages left. So how many pages did we get through already? Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give you some time to fill out that thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So 6. Yeah. So on page 8. So I just want you to, fill out that, that packet thing on, what you have, found. And I'm going to give you time to, look for things in there as well. Okay. So, back to it. Wait, what page are we on? Okay, well, we'll see based off of the story here.
It was thus that he spoke of the object of my visit, of his earnest desire to see me, and of the solace he expected me to afford him. He entered at some length into what he conceived to be the nature of his malady.
So he entered at some length. That's that's where we're at. So get there. Is everybody there? Okay.
It was, he said, a constitutional and a family evil, and one for which he despaired to find a remedy. A mere nervous affection, he immediately added, which would undoubtedly soon pass off. It displayed itself in a host of unnatural sensations. Some of these, as he detailed them, interested and bewildered me, although perhaps the terms and the general manner of their narration had their weight. He suffered much from a morbid acuteness of the senses. The most insipid food was alone endurable. He could wear only garments of certain texture. The odors of all flowers were oppressive. His eyes were tortured by even a faint light, and there were but peculiar sounds, and these from stringed instruments, which did not inspire him with horror. To an anomalous species of terror, I found him a bounden slave. I shall perish, said he. I must perish in this deplorable folly. Thus and not otherwise shall I be lost. I dread the events of the future, not in themselves, but in their results. I shudder at the thought of any, even the most trivial incident which may operate upon this intolerable agitation of soul. I have indeed no abhorrence of danger except in its absolute effect, in terror. In this unnerved, in this pitiable condition, I feel that the period will sooner or later arrive when I must abandon life and reason together in some struggle with the grim phantasm. Fear. I learned, moreover, at intervals and through broken and equivocal hints, another singular feature of his mental condition. He was enchained by certain superstitious impressions in regard to the dwelling which he tenanted, and whence for many years he had never ventured forth, in regard to an influence whose supposititious force was conveyed in terms too shadowy here to be restated, an influence which some peculiarities in the mere form and substance of his family mansion had, by dint of long sufferance, he said, obtained over his spirit an effect which the physique of the grey walls and turrets, and of the dim tarn into which they all looked down, had at length brought about upon the morale of his existence. He admitted, however, although with hesitation, that much of the peculiar gloom which thus afflicted him could be traced to a more natural and far more palpable origin, to the severe and long-continued illness, indeed to the evidently approaching dissolution, of a tenderly beloved sister, his sole companion for long years, his last and only relative on earth. Her decease, he said with a bitterness which I can never forget, would leave him the hopeless and the frail, the last of the ancient race of the Ushers. While he spoke, the Lady Madeline, for so was she called, passed through a remote portion of the apartment, and without having noticed my presence, disappeared. I regarded her with an utter astonishment, not unmingled with dread, and yet I found it impossible to account for such feelings. A sensation of stupor oppressed me as my eyes followed her retreating steps. When the door at length closed upon her, my glance sought instinctively and eagerly the countenance of the brother, but he had buried his face in his hands, and I could only perceive that a far more than ordinary wanness had overspread the emaciated fingers through which trickled many passionate tears. The disease of the Lady Madeline had long baffled the skill of her physicians. A settled apathy, a gradual wasting away of the person, and frequent, although transient, affections of a partially cataleptical character were the unusual diagnosis. Hitherto she had steadily borne up against the pressure of her malady, and had not betaken herself finally to bed. But on the closing in of the evening of my arrival at the house, she succumbed, as her brother told me at night with inexpressible agitation, to the prostrating power of the destroyer. And I learned that the glimpse I had obtained of her person would thus probably be the last I should obtain, that the lady, at least while living, would be seen by me no more. For several days ensuing, her name was unmentioned by either Usher or myself, and during this period I was busied in earnest endeavours to alleviate the melancholy of my friend. We painted and read together, or I listened, as if in a dream, to the wild improvisations of his speaking guitar. And thus, as a closer and still closer intimacy admitted me more unreservedly into the recesses of his spirit, the more bitterly did I perceive the futility of all attempt at cheering a mind from which darkness, as if an inherent positive quality, poured forth upon all objects of the moral and physical universe in one unceasing radiation of gloom. I shall ever bear about me a memory of the many solemn hours I thus spent alone with the master of the house of Usher. If I should fail in any attempt to convey an idea of the exact character of the studies or of the occupations in which he involved me or led me the way, an excited and highly distempered ideality threw a sulphureous luster over all. His long improvised dirges will ring forever in my ears. Among other things, I hold painfully in mind a certain singular perversion and amplification of the wild air of the last waltz of Von Weber. From the painting...
So let's see how many. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. Okay, I'm going to, I'm going to see how much memory that I have left, and then we'll just have to go off base.